Today marks what would have been the 10-year wedding anniversary for me, 32M, and my ex, 31F. We met in middle school, began dating in high school, and got married shortly after college. We have 3 kids together. My ex, Anna, spent the early years of the marriage as a stay-at-home mom. As the years went on, she became increasingly bored with that and eventually restarted her college education. With 1 semester to go, she decided the major she was pursuing no longer interested her, and she dropped out of college. Instead, she began working as a waitress in a local restaurant. Her best friend, Monica, 38F, also worked there. She enjoyed the work and seemed to be doing a good job with it. She was making friends for the first time in years, her depression was getting better, and it seemed to be a positive change in her life. I work full-time, and with the well-paying serving shifts taking place at night and on weekends, I took on additional responsibilities at home so she could work those shifts. I adjusted my work schedule to have more flexibility for taking the kids from school or to be home with them on random days off. I took them to all their weekly sports practices and after-school activities. I took on the majority of the cleaning, shopping, and laundry. Anna had some tough years with depression, so I was happy to take on more familial responsibilities if it allowed her to pursue something that finally provided happiness. After a few months working at the restaurant, Anna became close friends with a few female coworkers. Around the same time, she also started telling me more about her work stories with Dan. Dan was a 24M line cook at the restaurant. At first, they were normal work stories. Funny things that happened at work, how they reacted to rude customers, the latest drama from a workplace that employs a lot of young, drama-filled people. But as time went on, she started to tell me about how Dan was hitting on her and telling her she was pretty. We had conversations where I shared that I felt their relationship was crossing a line, and I asked that she shut down any non-professional interactions he had with her. As the months went on, I stopped hearing about Dan, and I was assured that he no longer was hitting on her. As the months went on, our marriage declined. We no longer made time to date each other. We stopped enjoying spending time with one another. I didn't outright know she was cheating on me, but I knew our relationship wasn't the same as it used to be. Then in March of this year, she didn't come home one night after work. It had become a regular occurrence that she would go out for drinks with coworkers after their shifts ended. For quite a while, I was happy for her because it seemed she had made some genuine friends to hang out with. The night she didn't come home from work, I had fallen asleep on the couch while trying to wait up for her. In the early hours of the morning, I called her phone 3 times, wondering where she could be and if she was okay. On the 3rd call, she briefly answered, informed me she drank too much and stayed at Monica's house, said she'd be home in the morning, and then ended the call. Monica had been friends with Anna for several years. We went on double dates with Monica and her ex-husband, James, prior to their divorce. Monica has a daughter the same age as my daughter, and they're best friends. The problem with Anna's story was that Monica and I were at our daughter's dance practice the night that Anna didn't come home. I knew that Monica was at home with her daughter after dance, not out at a bar drinking, so it didn't make sense for Anna to be at her house. I resolved that I'd talk to Anna about it tomorrow and try to get some sleep before the kids would wake up in a few short hours. As I was drifting off, I remembered that we shared our phone locations through a parental controls app we use for our daughter's phone. Frantically opening the app, I could see that her location was in an apartment building several miles away. It was the same apartment building that she had once told me was Dan's building when we were driving past it. For the next 3 hours, I sat on the couch, thinking about what I'd say to her and waiting for her to walk in the house. At 5:30 in the morning, I heard the garage door open. She came stumbling through the door a few minutes later, heavily under the influence and looking like she hadn't gotten any sleep. I asked her where she had been and why she didn't come home that night. She reiterated that she was at Monica's after having too many drinks and that she couldn't have safely driven herself home that night. When I said that I saw Monica at dance and knew she had her daughter with her last night, Anna changed her story and said she was actually at a different co-worker/friend's house, Natalie. I replied saying that Natalie lives in a single-family house, but her location showed her in an apartment building. After a pause that lasted what I'm quite confident was several years, I asked, "Are you having an affair with Dan?" To which she simply nodded yes. In the coming weeks, we spent time trying to decide if we could repair things or if our marriage was over. We went to couples therapy, and I went to therapy individually too. I knew that I didn't love her anymore, but I wanted to have a chance to see if we could make things work so that I didn't lose time with my kids if we were to separate. Anna agreed to give us another chance and told me that she ended things with Dan. She broke things off with him at a coffee shop, not knowing what his reaction would be and wanting to do it in a public place. I spent that night consoling my wife as she went through a breakup with her boyfriend. The following weeks were a roller coaster. Anna and I went on a few dates as we tried to repair things. Each one was awkward, like a blind first date where you know very little about the person and strain for conversation. There were very few highs and a lot of lows. A week later, I heard that Anna was still talking to Dan. I talked to Monica about it, who had learned about the affair at this point, and we decided Monica and her friends from the restaurant would sit Anna down to have an intervention of sorts. I didn't ask details about what they discussed with Anna, trusting that they would do what they thought was best to advise Anna. So after an afternoon spent with the family, and on our way home, I pulled our vehicle over in front of Monica's home and told Anna to head inside. Anna quickly saw what was unfolding. She saw her other friends' cars in the driveway, putting the pieces together that they were there to talk to her. Anna refused at first to go inside, but eventually relented. Anna came home from the intervention undecided on how to proceed. She wanted to think about whether she wanted to be with Dan or I, and we went to sleep. Then after agreeing to continue therapy and trying to work on our relationship, while also agreeing to stop seeing Dan again, I got a text from an unknown number a week later saying that Anna was still seeing Dan. As I pressed for details, it became clear the mystery texter worked with them, and I knew in that moment that my marriage was over. I had had enough with the lying, cheating, and deception. Mystery texter eventually revealed their identify. As I talked to them, Monica, and other co-workers of Anna, I learned quite a few things about the affair. That it had been happening for more than 6 months. That they were talking about getting married and having kids. I learned that after Anna knew I was checking her location, she would park her car with her phone in it at non-suspicious locations. Her work, friends' homes, grocery stores, etc., to make it appear that was doing something legitimate. All the while she was continuing to cheat on me with Dan. Late the evening of finding out from mystery texter that Anna was still cheating, I woke Anna from her sleep and said we were getting divorced. I said I wanted her out of the house ASAP, and that we'd figure the rest out later on. In the weeks between the intervention with her friends and us formally separating, Monica and I had been texting quite a bit. All of our texts were about getting advice from her on how to talk to Anna about things, or Monica sharing with me confirmation on days that Anna was working, so that I wouldn't assume Anna was lying and hiding her location by parking at work. The entire conversation stayed within the bounds of me texting my wife's best friend for advice on how to repair my marriage. Following the decision to separate from Anna, I joined a few dating apps. Initially, it was to show Anna that I was serious and moving on, despite my head not being in any place to actually date someone new. One night while the kids were with Anna, while I was spending the evening mindlessly swiping right and left, while also texting Monica after she checked in on me to see how I was doing, I decided to ask Monica to get some drinks and talk about how awful Anna had treated both of us. Throughout the affair, Anna had spent a lot of time lying to Monica and lying to me about being with Monica when she actually wasn't, and Monica was hurt by that. The evening with Monica went great. We spent 3 hours talking and laughing, sharing things about each of our exes and how they had treated both of us. Her divorce was further along than mine, so we chatted about that too. I had known Monica for several years at this point, previously as my wife's best friend, so I was enjoying getting to know a different side of her. Several weeks later, Anna finally moved out. She rented a new place, and we could finally start moving on with our lives apart from one another. Since then, life has been a tale of 2 stories. I've been in a relationship with Monica for 6 months. Finally finding someone that is a good person makes me happy and enjoys being with me. I've lost weight, I work out several times per week, and I completed my first triathlon. I've had a lot of good moments with the kids, doing fun activities and trying new things. Anna got pregnant immediately after moving out. She quit her job ahead of being fired for sexual harassment, as she was Dan's supervisor. She bought a new car for Dan, and then lost the job she had just gotten. News got out that Dan uses cocaine and sells various drugs after he got fired from the restaurant for being high at work. She's lost most of her friends as they found out about the cheating and lying. I'm happy to have moved on and to no longer feel stuck being with someone that's a terrible person. I feel no sympathy for her as she continues to make poor decisions, but I am pained by her still being someone in my kids' lives. Overall, I'm significantly happier than I used to be.